Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're looking for real stories about personal growth, emotional strength, and the kind of transformation that only comes from facing your toughest battles, hit that subscribe button right now. I read every comment, so let me know where in the world this story is finding you today. What I'm about to share is heavy, incredibly raw, but stick with me until the very end, because this is ultimately about finding power where you least expected it. The dust was thick, clinging to the cardboard boxes in the garage like toxic, forgotten memories we hadn't bothered to sort for years. I was finally tackling the monumental task of cleaning out the space, a duty I'd put off for 6 years, ever since we moved in. When my fingers brushed against something hard, unnaturally heavy, wrapped loosely in a discarded gym sock tucked behind a rusty paint can. It was black, sleek, and felt instantly foreign in my hand. It was a phone. A burner phone, perhaps, if you watch too many crime dramas, but the real, sickening earthquake hit the moment I pressed the power button and saw the lock screen. A prompt demanding a 6-digit code. My heart was already hammering against my ribs, convinced I was holding evidence of something vile, yet some cruel, hopeful mechanism in my brain forced my thumb onto the glass, instinctively punching in the date we said "I do." It opened. At that moment, the world didn't just tilt, it inverted. The silence of the dusty garage screamed louder than any argument we'd ever avoided. The fact that he hadn't just kept a secret life, but had honored it with the sacred date of our commitment, our anniversary, was a violation so intimate, it felt like a surgical strike to my core identity. If I had known then that the simple act of pressing those 6 digits would not only shatter my 12-year marriage, but also reveal the structural rot beneath every memory we shared, I might have left it buried under the concrete floor forever. That phone was a key, and I was about to unlock a vault full of secrets I was profoundly unprepared to pay the emotional price for. Before that moment, my life wasn't flashy. It was comfortable. Routine was my safety blanket, and I cherished the predictable rhythm of our suburban existence. I was Sarah, 38, a librarian who loved the smell of old paper and the quiet precision of classification. Mark and I had been married for 12 years, together for 15. We had the mortgage, the 2 aging SUVs, the joint savings account, and the annual family trip to the same quiet stretch of coast. We were the couple that everyone said had made it, steady, reliable, mutually supportive. We didn't fight much. We had settled into that quiet, deep understanding where you often don't even need to finish sentences for the other person to know what you mean. We were a unit, built slowly, brick by predictable, trustworthy brick. That predictability, that profound, quiet trust, was the greatest, most devastating lie I had ever allowed myself to believe. The phone, vibrating silently in my hand, was the dynamite ready to level the entire structure. Hello everyone, and welcome back to this space, where we share stories of radical personal transformation. I need you to stay with me through this one, because this is where the predictable life shattered, and true strength began to reveal itself. I promise, this escalation is universal. If you want more stories about finding your resilience, hit that subscribe button now and let me know where you're watching from. I truly believe connection helps us heal. The phone, vibrating against my palm, wasn't delivering a shocking image or an explicit message. It was something far more insidious. A calendar notification, pinned right at the top of the shared screen we used for coordinating our quiet, coupled existence. It wasn't even his phone. It was the shared tablet we used for streaming movies, usually forgotten on the kitchen counter, but which he had inadvertently synced with his professional account months ago. The notification read, "Annual Review Meeting, Client, Helix, Thursday 7 p.m. Simple, corporate, utterly harmless, except for 2 details. The location tag said, "The Regency Hotel, downtown," and the time blocked out wasn't 7 p.m., but the entire weekend, marked tentative travel block. I blinked, the quiet hum of the dishwasher suddenly deafeningly loud. My mind immediately went into frantic damage control, scrambling for any acceptable context. He had been working remotely full-time for 3 years. His company mandated virtual meetings unless absolutely critical, and even then, regional offices were preferred. Downtown was over 200 miles away, requiring a flight or a punishing 5-hour drive. He had not mentioned traveling. He had mentioned the Helix project, yes, but only to sigh dramatically about the long hours he'd be putting in at his desk, right here in the renovated study 20 feet from where I stood. The true poison wasn't the notification itself. It was the realization that I had just caught him in a lie of omission that had already been executed. The tentative travel block wasn't tentative anymore. He'd left for the supposed big deadline week 3 hours ago, kissing me goodbye with that familiar, trustworthy curve of his mouth, telling me not to wait up because the video conference calls would run late. He was already gone, and he was not driving to the local office complex he'd claimed. He was driving toward a hotel 2 states away, under the pretense of a remote work sprint. I walked the few steps to the study, the place he had lovingly converted into his fortress of productivity. The office was too neat, the chaos that usually accompanied a big deadline. Weak, scattered papers, half-empty coffee mugs, charging cables tangled like modern art, was absent. There was a faint scent of expensive cologne, the kind he saved for the rare black tie events, not for solitary hours staring at spreadsheets. The air conditioning was set 2 degrees lower than usual, a subtle adjustment he only made when he was trying to keep a suitcase full of freshly pressed shirts crisp and cool before travel. My hands began to tremble, not from anger, but from a profound existential cold. The man I trusted didn't just lie. He set the stage for the lie. He maintained the temperature, perfected the narrative, and packed the appropriate cologne for the performance. He had meticulously built the decoy of the remote work week, ensuring I had no reason to interrupt his solitude or question his dedication. He hadn't fought with me, hadn't distanced himself emotionally. He had simply wrapped me in a blanket of false comfort and walked out the door. I knew, in that exact, dreadful instant, that the relationship wasn't undergoing stress. It was over. But I didn't smash the tablet. I didn't call his cell phone and demand answers. I was too stunned by the sheer architectural complexity of the deception. The immediate human instinct to confront him was overridden by a colder, more calculated necessity. Understanding the depth of the water before I drowned. I needed proof that was undeniable, not just a suspicious calendar entry. I needed to know what annual review meeting really meant. I walked back to the kitchen, picking up his discarded travel mug by the sink. It felt heavy, a comforting weight usually. But as I lifted it, something slid out from the deep thermal sleeve, a tiny, waxy slip of paper folded twice. My heart hammered against my ribs. A dull, frantic drum solo. It was a dry cleaning receipt, dated yesterday. The items listed were 3 business shirts, and 1 item marked only as evening gown, Sylvan. An evening gown. Silver, not mine. I hadn't worn a gown in nearly a year, and certainly not silver. That tiny, crumpled receipt was the physical evidence, the definitive proof that someone else's life, someone who required formal attire for this business trip, was interwoven with his. It wasn't just a lie about travel. It was an entanglement. The quiet trust we had built, brick by predictable brick, wasn't just leveled by dynamite. It had been revealed as a facade, covering a cavernous, empty space where commitment used to be. I took a deep breath, the scent of expensive cologne and fear mixing sharply in the quiet kitchen. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply folded the dry cleaning receipt and slipped it into my pocket. The hunt for the truth was now officially underway, and I would not rest until I had every single answer that my years of devotion deserved. I would not allow myself to be the oblivious fool left behind in the silent house. This decision, To pursue the truth in cold silence rather than explode in immediate, satisfying rage was my point of no return. It was the moment I stopped being the trusting partner and became the investigator of my own devastation. If this story resonates with the quiet struggles you faced in your own journey, please tap the like button. Your support helps these stories of overcoming betrayal reach others who need to hear them. And for a truly impactful story about finding strength after financial ruin, check out the video linked on your screen now. Stay resilient. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel. If you're joining this journey of recovery and resilience for the first time, please hit that subscribe button. We share stories of raw human strength and transformation every single week, and your support helps us reach more hearts that need to hear them. Tell me in the comments below, where are you watching from? I want to know where these stories of facing devastation are resonating. Stick around until the end, because the emotional shift that followed this discovery changed everything about how I viewed the world and my own worth. The decision to investigate was less a choice and more a surrender to necessity. The moment the switch flipped from partner to detective, the atmosphere in our apartment changed. The air became thick, not with love or comfort, but with the heavy, unsaid weight of accusations I hadn't yet dared to form into sentences. He noticed the shift. He just misinterpreted the source. He assumed my distance was exhaustion, or perhaps the stress of my job. He was, as always, deeply self-centered in his projections. The first palpable sign that the foundation was not just cracked, but entirely hollow, was the silence. Not the comfortable silence of two people reading side by side, but the echoing void that filled the spaces where conversation used to live. Dinner became a performance, chewing slowly, avoiding eye contact, the clink of silverware sounding like the chime of a funeral bell. He stopped asking about my day, and I stopped offering. We were two ships passing in the night, except our moorings were supposed to be intertwined forever. The actual physical plot point arrived late one Tuesday night. I was cleaning out the pockets of his favorite jacket before throwing it into the wash, a mundane act of wifely duty that now felt loaded with irony. My fingers brushed against a thin slip of paper folded multiple times, tucked deep into the inner lining where he usually kept only his work ID. My heart rate immediately spiked, a physiological response to fear that needed no conscious thought. It wasn't a love letter or a detailed itinerary. It was a receipt, a tiny thermal strip of ink documenting a purchase that made absolutely zero sense in the context of our life. It was dated 3 weekends prior, a Saturday. He claimed he spent at a mandatory all-day training seminar 2 hours away. The receipt was for a florist, a highly specialized boutique downtown known for high-end custom arrangements, and the total was astronomical. The amount wasn't for a dozen roses. It was enough to buy a small appliance. Why would he buy flowers that expensive 3 hours away from his mandatory seminar and then hide the receipt? The question looped in my mind, tightening like a garrote around my throat. I stared at the logo, an elegant, scripted L that felt smugly judgmental. He had never bought me flowers from anywhere but the local supermarket, and certainly never anything that cost more than a nice dinner. The sheer unfairness of the discrepancy was the first shard of glass to pierce my emotional armor. I waited until the next morning to confront him, but not with fire. I used ice. "Did you remember to take everything out of your black jacket before I washed it?" I asked, my voice flat, holding the receipt like a fragile, damning butterfly between my thumb and forefinger. He didn't flinch physically, but his eyes, for a split second, darted away from mine, a flicker of panic I recognized instantly. He recovered quickly, too quickly. Yeah, should be empty. Why?" I slid the receipt across the kitchen table. The silence returned, magnified, sucking all the oxygen from the room. He picked it up, examined it, and then delivered the first truly insulting lie. "Oh, that. Right," he said, forcing a casual shrug. "That was for For Greg, his mother passed away suddenly. We all chipped in for a huge arrangement. I told him I'd handle the expense and collect the cash later. Must have forgotten to expense it. Greg, the colleague I'd met once, 2 years ago, whose mother had a known chronic illness. The lie was too precise, too convenient, and yet fundamentally flawed. Greg called me last week. I countered, still calm, the effort nearly cracking my jaw. He said his mother is recovering well and should be home next month. He definitely didn't mention a sudden passing. The forced smile vanished. His face went blank, the mask dissolving into sheer, ugly defensiveness. It must have been someone else's mother then. Or maybe it was a delayed gift. Look, it was for work, I can assure you. Why are you suddenly cross-examining my expenditures? Are we having money trouble? The shift from explaining to attacking was immediate and telling. He wasn't defending the receipt. He was attacking my right to ask. The cold fury started to churn low in my gut. It wasn't about the flowers, or Greg, or even the money. It was the calculated, effortless way he tried to build a false narrative, expecting me to swallow it whole. That receipt was the first tangible anchor dropped in the sea of my suspicion, confirming that I was not crazy. I was being actively, coldly deceived. The hole was getting deeper, and I had just found the shovel. Hello, amazing souls. If you're joining us today, please settle in, because this story isn't just about betrayal. It's about the terrifying yet magnificent discovery of the strength we didn't know we had. I truly believe that sometimes, the breaking point is the precise moment we finally become unbreakable. If this sounds like something you need in your life, hit that subscribe button. We share stories of personal transformation, emotional growth, and finding light in the darkest corners. Tell me in the comments where you are tuning in from. I love seeing how far these messages of resilience travel. Please stick around until the very end. What happens next changed the trajectory of my entire existence. The moment he attacked my right to ask, everything shifted. The air in our apartment didn't just feel cold, it felt chemically hostile. I didn't want another verbal fight, because I realized confrontation was his stage, his chance to perform the outrage of the falsely accused. I retreated, not in surrender, but in strategic preparation. I became a ghost in my own house, meticulously quiet, observing the rhythms of his deception. He believed he had won the immediate battle by silencing me with sheer volume and aggressive denial. He saw my silence as acceptance, maybe even guilt for having questioned him. He was profoundly wrong. My silence was the sound of a lock clicking shut, securing the evidence I already had while I hunted for the key to the next door. My transformation began in that silence. I stopped, looking at him as my partner, and started viewing him as a specimen under a microscope. I noted the new habit of always taking his phone to the bathroom, the sudden and elaborate excuses for late nights, client emergencies that never required him to open his laptop at home. The lies were becoming lazier, and the effort it took to maintain my calm exterior was exhausting, yet strangely energizing. I was no longer grieving the loss of my marriage. I was researching the crime scene. The first tangible discovery after the receipt didn't come from a financial statement. It came from an old, unused gym bag stashed deep in the back of the closet, the kind he hadn't touched since the pandemic started. I was clearing out winter clothes, creating the illusion of domestic normalcy. The bag smelled faintly of stale sweat and desperation. Deep inside a zippered compartment, wrapped tightly in a pair of ancient, forgotten athletic socks, was a cheap, prepaid mobile phone, a burner. It was black, plastic, and heavy with unspoken secrets. My fingers trembled as I pulled it out, but my mind was icy clear. I knew the moment I touched it, I was crossing the point of no return. If I had any lingering hope that the flowers were a one-time mistake, this cheap piece of technology vaporized it. Nobody needs a burner phone unless they are coordinating a life that cannot withstand daylight. The screen was dark, locked, of course, but as I held it, a notification blinked on, illuminated by a text message that had just arrived. The sender ID was a series of emojis, a purple heart, a glass of champagne, and a lipstick kiss, and the preview text, tragically succinct, ripped the last threads of my carefully constructed composure. It simply read, "Can't wait for Friday. My husband is finally out of town." It wasn't his name. It was hers. The realization hit me not as a shockwave, but as a deep, structural cracking beneath my feet. This wasn't just a fling with a coworker. This was an arranged, scheduled existence with someone else, who also had a husband, who was also being deceived. It was a mirror image of the life he was destroying, only they were enjoying the destruction together. I felt a surge of cold, focused rage. It wasn't just one lie. It was a collaborative, 4-person deception engineered for months. I didn't need the password anymore. I had the confirmation. This was deep, mutually reinforced infidelity. And my husband wasn't just sneaking around. He was building a separate, parallel life. I slipped the phone into my pocket, the cold plastic resting against my hip like a dangerous truth serum. When he walked in an hour later, whistling, talking about a great day at Atai, the office, I smiled. It was the hardest, most necessary performance of my life. Inside, the soundproof room of my heart had shattered, leaving only echoing space where I would now house the cold, precise mechanics of my exit. This is the part of the story where you realize that sometimes the greatest act of self-love is becoming the detective of your own life. It hurts, yes, but knowledge is power, and power is the first step toward freedom. If you're finding strength in this journey, please give this video a like. And if you want to see how I finally confronted them both, make sure you watch the next video linked right here. It gets even more intense. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're just joining us, you've missed the beginning of a story that changed everything for me. But don't worry, you're here for the deepest fall. I see so many of you commenting where you're watching from. It's truly incredible to feel this connection, whether you're seeking transformation in London or finding strength in São Paulo. If stories of personal resilience, emotional growth, and real-life transformation resonate with you, please hit that subscribe button now. Trust me, you'll want to stick around until the very end of this one, because the silence that followed my initial discovery was louder than any scream. The air in our apartment turned into a heavy, suffocating blanket. After that tense conversation where I merely hinted at my doubts, he didn't fight back. He just retreated. The arguments ceased, replaced by a chilling politeness. He started working late, really late, beyond the usual boundaries of his job. And when he was home, his phone was surgically attached to his hand, face down on the bedside table. I was living with a ghost, a carefully constructed illusion of a husband who was physically present but emotionally 1,000 miles away. The loneliness was an anchor dragging me deeper than the suspicion ever could, proving that the real damage and betrayal isn't the act itself, but the slow, deliberate withdrawal of affection that precedes it. I became meticulous. I wasn't searching out of rage anymore. I was searching for the truth that would set me free, even if that freedom tasted like ash. My investigation began in the digital shadows he thought he had cleared. One afternoon, while using his seldom-touched work laptop, which he'd assured me was purely for sensitive client files, I noticed a small, encrypted messaging app icon buried deep within a secondary desktop folder, one I had never seen before. Curiosity gave way to cold certainty when a notification briefly flashed across the screen. A heart emoji, followed by a text reading, "Can't wait for Friday." My blood ran cold. I knew the tone of that exchange. It was intimate, immediate, and utterly foreign to anything we shared. I tried to open the app, but it was locked down tighter than a vault. I didn't push him immediately. I just placed the laptop back exactly where it was, the screen silently mocking me. I spent the next 48 hours walking on eggshells, replaying the notification flash, my internal equilibrium completely shattered. I wanted to believe it was a colleague, a client, anything benign. But the sheer effort he put into hiding that folder screamed guilt. When I finally confronted him, not with an accusation, but with the simple, loaded question, "What's on the work laptop that you don't want me to see?" He didn't flinch. He didn't confess. He exploded. His reaction was a performance worthy of an Oscar, a manufactured cocktail of indignation and fury. He accused me of being paranoid, of invading his privacy, of not trusting him after all these years. He threw my recent stress back in my face, suggesting I was unstable and needed professional help to manage my delusions. That level of calculated gaslighting, where he twisted my legitimate pursuit of truth into a symptom of my own mental fragility, was infinitely more painful than the initial lie. It was an attempt to silence my intuition and erase my reality. That night, lying wide awake while he feigned sleep beside me, I realized I couldn't rely on him to tell the truth, and I couldn't rely on my sanity if I kept trusting his version of reality. I needed undeniable proof, something that couldn't be argued away as paranoia or a client file. Driven by the sheer, desperate need for validation, I remembered his habit of never emptying the deleted items folder on his secondary email account. It was late, the house silent except for the frantic clicking of the mouse. I accessed the email account he used for travel bookings and, filtering the trash folder by date, I found it. A flight confirmation for 2, booked 3 weeks prior. The destination wasn't some distant business trip. It was a quaint coastal town 3 hours away, one we had talked about visiting together for our anniversary. The dates matched the very weekend. He had claimed he was stuck in back-to-back meetings preparing for a major merger. The names on the ticket were his, and a name I had never heard before. Eliza. The ground didn't just fall away, it dissolved. It wasn't just a secret conversation or emotional infidelity. It was a parallel life, meticulously planned and executed while I was left holding the threadbare remnants of ours. The discovery of that plane ticket, that concrete, financial, logistical proof, was the point of no return. It wasn't just proof of betrayal, it was proof of contempt. He hadn't just cheated. He had lied about where he was and who he was, right down to the reservation details. My detective work was done. The pain was excruciating, but it was also liberating. Knowledge is a heavy sword, but it cuts through the fog of doubt. In that dark hour, I realized the only person left to save was me. The next step wasn't about fighting him. It was about orchestrating my own quiet, decisive escape. If you've ever had to become the hero of your own impossible story, you know this feeling. That cold, crystalline clarity that washes over you when the truth is finally undeniable. It's the strength born from having nothing left to lose. If this journey of finding truth in the darkest places is resonating with you, please leave a like on this video. And if you want to see the footage of the final confrontation, when I walked into his office with that plane ticket printed out, make sure you click the link right here to the next chapter. It's the most intense moment of the entire story. Welcome back, everyone. If you've just joined this journey, you've caught me right before the final act. I hope you're ready, because this is where the quiet storm finally breaks. If these stories of resilience, personal growth, and transformation, the kind of truth that sets you free, resonate with you, please hit that subscribe button now. We build a community of strength here, recognizing that sometimes the greatest heartbreak paves the road to the greatest self-discovery. Tell me in the comments below, where are you tuning in from? Where is this story finding you today? Hold tight, because the next few minutes contain the absolute apex of the betrayal and the most crucial lesson I ever learned about self-worth. The plane ticket was printed, crisp and cold on the counter. It wasn't the ticket itself that was the point of no return. It was the chilling, clinical finality of the decision it represented. I didn't cry anymore. Tears require hope, and hope had been incinerated. What replaced it was a surgical precision, the kind an exhausted soldier finds just before the battle. Pure, focused execution. Packed only the necessities: passport, a few changes of clothes, and the digital evidence I had meticulously collected, saved now to 3 separate encrypted drives. I was leaving the country, but before I disappeared, I needed to make sure the detonation was perfectly timed. I thought I had seen the worst of it: the texts, the hidden trips, the denials. But my intuition, now sharpened to a razor's edge, insisted there was one more thread to pull. I logged into the shared investment account, the one he always managed, claiming it was too complicated for me. I wasn't looking for discrepancies in the market. I was looking for the paper trail of his emotional investment. Scrolling through transaction history spanning the last 8 months, past the mortgages and the utility bills, I found a vendor I didn't recognize. Eternity Jewels, LLC. My stomach coiled into a tight, hard knot. It was a 5-figure charge, dated 3 weeks ago. It wasn't just the amount. It was the timing. 3 weeks ago, he was supposed to be bedside with his ailing mother across the state, a trip that had earned him my complete sympathetic attention. While I was sending him encouraging texts and worrying about his family obligations, he was apparently securing an engagement ring. The betrayal shifted instantly from casual infidelity to structural malice. He wasn't just cheating. He was actively designing a replacement life, using my empathy as his shield. The invoice file was attached, and when I clicked it, the details swam into horrifying focus. There was the description: a 3-carat solitaire diamond, custom setting. But what truly sealed the grave was the shipping address. It wasn't going to a jeweler for safekeeping, nor was it going to his office. It was being shipped to a private mailbox rental, serviced 20 miles away from our home, under a name that wasn't his, but one I recognized immediately. The name of the woman he swore was just a new colleague who needed mentoring. This wasn't a mistake. This was a logistical operation designed to erase me. He had secured a future with her, a ring, and a secret address, all while sharing my bed and planning our summer vacation. A silence descended on the apartment that was heavier than any argument we had ever had. It was the silence of absolute cessation, of every possible road closing except one. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I sat down at the kitchen table, the printout of the ring invoice next to the plane ticket, and I felt the last lingering ghost of my old self evaporate. The man I loved, the future I planned, the life I thought we shared, it was all a meticulously constructed lie. And now, I held the blueprint for his new life in my hand, ready to burn it down. My heart didn't race. It pounded with a slow, deliberate cadence, the rhythm of a judge striking a gavel. The time for sorrow was over. It was time for accountability. I picked up my phone and called his office line, knowing he would be in his final meeting of the day. When his assistant answered, my voice was steady, impossibly calm, the voice of a CEO requesting market data. "Tell him," I instructed, "that I have found the final piece of our puzzle. I need to see him immediately. If he is delayed by even 5 minutes, he will find that not only am I gone, but the accounts are frozen, and the police have been notified regarding the unauthorized use of shared capital." I hung up, not waiting for a response. The trap was set. The bait was the very thing he thought he had secured: his future. I put on the suit I saved for job, interviews, straightened my spine, and walked toward the door. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to deliver a verdict. And if you've ever found yourself standing on the precipice of such a life-altering moment, forced to choose between self-preservation and the comfort of a lie, you know that moment of clarity is terrifying. But it is also the source of unimaginable power. Stay with me, because what happens when I walk into that office with the ticket and the invoice is the absolute definition of confrontation. Hello, and welcome back to the channel. If you're joining me for the first time, hit that subscribe button. We share stories here about finding personal power, climbing out of the deepest trenches, and redefining what strength truly means. Let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and if this story is hitting you close to home. Please stick with me until the very end, because the resolution to this conflict is maybe the hardest, but most vital truth I ever learned. The adrenaline that had been surging through me moments before I opened the office door now settled into a cold, focused reservoir of certainty. I didn't need to rage. Rage was for the defeated. I needed silence and precision. I pushed the heavy mahogany door open, the sound echoing unnaturally loud in the carpeted silence. He, my Uncle Thomas, the man who had acted as my mentor, my guardian, and my most trusted business partner, looked up from his laptop. His smile was immediate, professional, and utterly fake. "Ah, there you are. I was just about to call. We need to finalize those Q3 projections." I didn't let him finish the pleasantries. I walked straight to his massive desk, ignoring the chair he gestured toward. I placed the laminated airline ticket stub and the falsified vendor invoice side by side, perfectly aligned on the polished wood. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was absolute zero. The smile dissolved first, replaced by a flicker of irritation, then confusion, and finally, a sickening, gut-wrenching terror. "What is this? A mistake?" he asked, his voice a little too high, a little too quick. He reached for the papers, but I put my hand down on them, not aggressively, but with the immovable weight of a judge's gavel. "It's not a mistake, Thomas," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's the evidence. The ticket stub confirms your unauthorized trip to the Cayman Islands the same week you claimed to be hospitalized with the flu. The invoice confirms the phantom company you routed the funds through, funds that were supposed to be securing our expansion, not your offshore account." He tried the denial playbook. "Someone forged that. They're trying to set me up. You know how ruthless this industry is, kid." I shook my head slowly, feeling no satisfaction, only a deep, profound exhaustion. "I tracked the IP address of the initial transfer request, Thomas. It came from your home study 10 minutes after your wife left for her book club." I lifted my hand, allowing him to see the documents clearly. "This isn't a negotiation. This isn't a family dispute we can mediate over Thanksgiving dinner. This is the definition of betrayal, and it is a crime." He slumped back in his leather chair, the fight draining out of him, replaced by the pathetic realization that his elaborate facade had crumbled over a single stupid airline ticket. He didn't beg for forgiveness. He begged for silence. "Think about your mother. Think about the family name. We can fix this. I'll pay it back. Double." "The money is irrelevant," I stated, turning away. That was the point of no return. The decision to prioritize my sanity and integrity over the comfort of keeping the family unit intact. "You didn't just steal assets, you stole the narrative of trust, and I will not spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, wondering if the next hand I shake belongs to a thief." I delivered the verdict not to him, but to the lingering, naive part of myself that had still wanted to believe in him. By the end of the day, every senior partner, every investor, and yes, every member of the family will receive a comprehensive, unredacted report detailing your actions. I am not seeking vengeance. I am seeking justice. And it starts with cutting out the rot. The walk out of that office was the longest journey of my life. It was a walk away from a future I thought was guaranteed, and a walk toward a terrifying, unknown independence. The silence of the hallway, after the confrontation felt like the ringing of shattered glass. But beneath the noise, there was a quiet, powerful relief. The aftermath was brutal. The family split. The arguments were vicious, and the fallout cost me years of emotional recovery. But standing here now, looking back, I understand that the hardest choice you make is often the one that saves you. I learned that day that true family is not defined by shared DNA or a common last name. It is defined by integrity, respect, and unconditional support. Blood may connect you, but it doesn't guarantee loyalty, and sometimes severing that connection is the only path to self-preservation. I had to lose everything: the business, the comfort, the illusion of a perfect family, to gain the one thing that truly mattered: my own voice, my own strength, and the unflinching knowledge that I can stand on my own 2 feet. If you have ever had to stand up for yourself when the world, or even your own family, expected you to fold, if you know the painful freedom that comes with walking away from a lie, then you know exactly how heavy, yet liberating, that silence truly is. That decision to choose integrity over ease is the true measure of a person. If this story resonated with you, if it sparked a flicker of recognition or gave you a dose of courage, please give this video a thumbs up. Your engagement helps these stories of resilience reach others who might be standing on their own precipice right now. Tell me in the comments below, what was the hardest boundary you ever had to set? Thank you for staying with me through this journey. And before you go, check out this video right here. It's another powerful story about self-discovery that I guarantee will keep the inspiration flowing. See you next time.